Justice does not come from a political party. It comes from God. Hey guys, this is Andy. I'm so glad that you can join me again. It is just such an honor and a privilege and a blessing to speak to you during these tumultuous times. As you know, our country is getting a lot more politically driven, and this isn't intrinsically a bad thing or a good thing, it's just a thing. And so one of the most important things that a Christian needs to avoid is to make sure that I'm grounded in the Word and I'm doing things based on Scripture and not based on a political leaning. Now, let me give you a verse, and this is what I mean. And we're going to go over two major points today, okay? The first verse is Leviticus 19:15, and this is what it says. It says, "You shall do no injustice in judgment." Right? Notice that there's injustice in judgment. I can judge something wrongly, and this is something that God does not want me to do. So he says, "You shall not be partial to the poor or show favoritism to a poorer class, nor defer to the great or show favoritism to a greater class, but you are to judge your neighbor fairly." And this is a very important thing. I see a lot of politicians not follow this, right? So let me give you an example. Okay, let's say when a video comes out of a police officer killing a black man, okay? Or let's go back to Brett Kavanaugh and Christine Ford, right? Right when it came out, I know that a politician is going to draw a certain conclusion immediately. They're immediately going to say, a Democrat's going to say immediately Christine Ford is innocent, and the Republicans are going to say, no, Brett Kavanaugh is innocent, right? That's what they're going to say. Same thing with the police officers and a black male. Usually it's a black male, right? Or let's say Breonna Taylor and she was a black female. What have you. The left is going to side with the black person. The right is probably going to side with the police officer. Now, as a Christian, though, I'm not siding with what the Democrats want me to side with or what the Republicans want me to side with. I'm siding with the truth. Notice how God gives me two things to think about. Number one, he's saying, don't show partiality to the poor. Now, I made a video talking about Marxism and sort of the class identification and class warfare that Karl Marx believed in, and that a lot of people, hopefully not a lot of people, but a good amount of people in America today are falling into that trap, and I don't want you to fall into that trap. So let's say that I believe that a particular class is downtrodden and beaten down and lower than another class. Okay, so typically people will say something like the black community, right? So if somebody from the black community is on trial, and let's say this person said he robbed me or he murdered me or he raped me or what have you, okay? Now, even though I may have the unction or the desire to believe this person because I believe that they are like a victim or a part of a poorer class and maybe they don't have as much, or however you have defined, or however the political parties have certainly defined a poorer class or a oppressed class, I am not to show partiality to this person. I want to know the truth, okay? The same thing goes with someone who's great. If someone who's, let's say you believe a white person, a male, heterosexual, whatever it may be, whatever you think the richer class is, the Bible makes it clear I am not to show partiality to this person either. And there's a very important underlying principle why I don't do this. Why? God makes it really clear. Romans 3:23. He says, all have sinned and all fall short of the glory of God. It doesn't matter what class you're in. It doesn't matter what race you are. It doesn't matter how much money you make. It doesn't matter where you were from, where you were born into. It doesn't matter. All have sinned. That means that everybody is capable of doing wrong, whether you have a lot of money or a little money, whether you're white or whether you're black, whether you're a woman or whether you're a male. So now that I know what God doesn't want me to do, which is show favoritism either to the poor class or to the rich class. So what does God want me to do? He says he wants me to judge in fair judgment and fairness, right? And without favoritism, without partiality, without looking at a person's skin color or the class that they're in, or if I think all of them are oppressed, or if I think these guys are the oppressors. Even if you have a Marxian attitude right now, and I'm going to link you to the video below why this is such a dangerous attitude, but even if you have that kind of attitude right now, God does not want you showing partiality to the poor or to the great. So what is fair judgment? This is what fair judgment is. Deuteronomy 19:15. This is what he says. He says, "One witness shall not rise against a man concerning any iniquity or any sin that he commits. By the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses, the matter shall be established." Notice how he's talking about the matter itself, okay? So there was a popular movement called the Me Too movement. And so it doesn't necessarily matter what kind of movement it is. What God is trying to say to you and I today in this verse is that regardless if, let's say, a lot of people were in a certain community, let's say that a bunch of people were robbed by a lot of young black males, okay? So let's say we're in like inner city Chicago. Even though that's the case, and you and I are sitting as like, let's say, the judge of another case of a young black male and someone else, and let's say he's saying that the young black male stole something. I am not to show favoritism towards that. I'm not going to just simply say, because there's been so many young black males that did this, therefore you must have done it. That's not what I'm going to say. I'm not going to show favoritism. I'm not going to show partiality. I'm not going to jump into judgment. I'm going to wait, as Christ says, for 2 or 3 witnesses. And how important is this verse? In John 5:31, Jesus says, "If I testify about myself, my testimony is not true. There is another who testifies in my favor, and I know that his testimony about me is true." So Jesus himself is applying this to him. And he's saying, if I were only the only person saying this about me, it wouldn't really be true. However, there's someone else who says this about me. Now, there's 2 beings that that Jesus is talking about. Number 1 is John the Baptist, right? Who made the way, okay? And if you keep reading John 5, you'll see it. And eventually he gets into, there's another who's greater than John, who is the Father in heaven. So Jesus applies this principle that he gave to us in Deuteronomy, to himself actually, in the Old Testament and the New Testament. So if you think you're above this, you're not above the Son of God. So you need to apply this to everybody, okay? Not just whoever you want to apply it to. We need to make sure that we're being consistent in our scriptural devotion and how we're looking at the world. And we want to look at the world through the lens of God. Now, I want to end it with this and tell you why this is so important. Why this is so important. Okay, Proverbs 11:1 says, "A false balance is an abomination to the Lord, but a just weight is his delight." So there's a very big difference, right? There's an abomination and then there's delight, right? If you go through Proverbs, there's a lot of verses talking about this, about judging something righteously, not convicting an innocent man of guilt, these kinds of things. This is a very, very important thing. And even though you may not be the judge and jury of something, like literally judge and jury, a lot of the times when we're watching something on our phones or on our computers, I may start judging something, right? I may immediately jump to something and say, that cop was wrong, even though I have a 12-second grainy clip and I have zero context as to what happened, right? Now, in the case of Derek Chauvin and George Floyd, I have all the evidence that I needed. But in other cases, let's say for Breonna Taylor, I don't have that much evidence. I don't have video of it. So I can't really say to you right off the bat that this was the police officer's fault. Does that make sense? So I'm not saying that Kavanaugh or Ford, and I know I brought up some hot topics here, and I know maybe some of you are triggered and all this kind of stuff. I hope you're not. I'm not telling you that I think this person is innocent or guilty. I'm simply telling you to not jump to conclusions and to apply what God says and to look for truth before I jump to something and say, oh, for sure, this is wrong. And then you write something about it on social media. God will judge you for that. He will keep you accountable. He knows everything that you and I do. When you and I look at him one day, face to face, he's going to look at us and go, why did you judge this person? You didn't even have 90% of the information that you had, yet you started drawing conclusions and you started going on riots and protesting and all that without even knowing what happened. This is not what I want for you, and this is not what I want for anybody, and this is certainly not what God wants for us. Understand that God actually punishes false witnesses, okay? So if there is a false witness and someone who's judging something unfairly, this is what the Bible actually tells us in Deuteronomy 19. If you keep going down, it actually says that if the witness is a false witness who has testified falsely against his brother, then you shall do to him as he thought to have done to his brother. So in this case, and I know this might be very sensitive for you, but in this particular case, if we were to apply God's law to someone like Christine Ford, she would actually be paying the price of a rapist because she has been proven to be a false witness. Now, I understand that many of of you are going to look at me and say, wow, I can't believe you would say that. You know, women have been mistreated all these years. But understand, we just went over this. Not every woman is innocent. Not every man is innocent. There's no witnesses. She's the only person. I'm just giving you an example. This is a very important thing. God is not going to favor someone just because I have put them in a Marxian class. As you know, Marx was an atheist, and I hope that he repented before he died, but if he didn't, he's not with the Lord and he is not a godly man. So his ideologies definitely did not stem from God. And I guess I'll put another verse right here to show you how atheism, and even if you become an atheist, though you profess your life as a Christian, but you are actually an atheist in your actions, you have become a fool as well. And so I just want to encourage you guys to not fall into these very, very serious traps and these very sort of pervasive traps that have been happening in our country today. Thank you guys so much for watching. I love you. May God be with you. May His grace be with you. I hope you guys are staying safe. I hope you're staying healthy. I know things are crazy right now, but always, I would really encourage you to start your day with devotion. Start your day reading the Word. I know we're not perfect. I know we have emotions. I know we get into arguments and things like that. But just remember that God is with you. His grace is with you. And He gives us everything that we need. And when we're deep in the Word and we're diving in it and it has become our foundation, then I can avoid a lot of traps and be as innocent as a dove and as wise as a serpent. God bless you guys. And I will see you next week.